Once a billionaire with palaces, private jets, and yachts, Vijay Mallya's belongings are now being sold to pay off his colossal debts. This isn't just the sale of a possession, it's the dismantling of an empire. Vijay Mallya was once hailed as the king of good times, a man who brought luxury to life. But behind all the opulence laid a web of deceit, unchecked ambition, and betrayal that brought him crashing down. The story begins in Karnataka, India, in 1955, where Vijay Mallya was born into privilege. His father, Vijay Mallya, was already a titan in the business world, steering the United Breweries group to success. Vijay grew up with the best education, the finest opportunities, and a golden path laid out before him. When Vijay Mallya passed away in 1983, Vijay, who was just 28 years old, took over the family empire. Vijay's biggest strength was his charisma. He knew how to sell dreams, and he had the flair for marketing.
When I first started out, obviously, I was a bit overwhelmed with the fact that the buck stopped with me and that I didn't have a dad to run to and find out, if I was in trouble or I was undecided. And once I got over that, I realized that you need to go forward against all odds. You need to be gutsy. You need to have fire in your belly. And there's no point in being scared of the system or of people who are against you. There are plenty of them. They still exist.
What followed was nothing short of extraordinary. Vijay didn't just run the business, he transformed it. Under his leadership, United Breweries expanded beyond beer to spirits, acquiring global brands like White and Mackay. Vijay wasn't just a businessman, he was a showman. He marketed not just beer, but a lifestyle. The Kingfisher beer logo wasn't just a drink. It was plastered on yachts, Formula One cars, and even cricket team jerseys. Mallya understood one thing clearly: perception is power. The Kingfisher logo became a symbol of luxury and aspiration for an entire generation. With the Kingfisher brand now synonymous with the high life, Vijay Mallya's ambitions grew even larger. In 2005, Vijay took his empire to new heights, literally. Kingfisher Airlines launched with great fanfare. It promised passengers a flying experience like no other, with red leather seats, gourmet meals, and world-class service. Vijay famously declared, "My guests will not just fly, they will soar." For a while, it seemed like his vision was unstoppable. Kingfisher Airlines was the pride of India.
Nothing else comes close. Kingfisher is a class apart.
But behind the scenes, the financial strain was mounting. The airline was bleeding money, unable to compete in a cutthroat industry dominated by low-cost carriers. Vijay wanted Kingfisher Airlines to be the best in the world. What he didn't account for was the cost of running a luxury airline in a price-sensitive market like India. It was a classic case of overreach. What many people don't know is that Mallya took an especially dangerous gamble when he purchased Air Deccan, a budget airline. His goal was to gain access to lucrative international routes. But the move stretched Kingfisher's resources to the limit. By merging a luxury airline with a budget carrier, he alienated both his premium passengers and cost-conscious travelers. The Air Deccan acquisition turned out to be a fatal move. Instead of focusing on one business model, Mallya tried to do it all and he paid the price.
He really built the Kingfisher brand and made it into a global brand. Well, he made a big blunder starting Kingfisher Airlines. And I think his biggest blunder was to, be in a hurry to go international. And when he bought over Deccan Airways, I think that was the start of his downfall. Because I think it was a big price to pay for an airlines in those days where the business was just beginning to take off. And you know that everyone who used Kingfisher Airlines swore by the service.
Right.
I think he did a decent job, but I think financially it wasn't viable. The beer business was booming. I think if he had stuck to beer, he would still be a very successful businessman.
What started as an airline of dreams quickly turned into a financial nightmare. But Mallya, in his usual style, wasn't worried. He believed he could charm his way out of trouble.
And I remember trying to cope with the Kingfisher Airlines crisis. I kept telling him, I said, Vijay, downsize, cut your losses. You don't have to make this into a huge international airlines. And I think, if you just downsize your airlines and focus on the Indian market for the time being and make sure that you cut your losses, I'm sure it'll do you a lot of good. But he kept saying, no, I think I know what I'm doing. I think I can overcome this. I know that I'll be able to pay this back, and I know I can raise debt and revive this whole business.
Today's video is brought to you by Prime Emporio, your one-stop destination for various household and fashion products and accessories. Discover the ultimate shopping experience at their online store, offering an extensive range of products. Don't forget to check out their online store and treat yourself to something special. By 2012, the cracks could no longer be ignored. Kingfisher Airlines had grounded its fleet and failed to pay its pilots, engineers, and staff for months. The debts were piling up. Banks were owed over $1 billion, vendors were left unpaid, and the airline's reputation was in shambles. Employees protested outside the company headquarters, holding signs, "We made you king, now don't abandon us." While employees protested on the streets, Mallya, however, was busy attending international Formula One races and luxury yacht parties.
Unfortunately, I have come on TV for a wrong reason. The reason is, working class people like us and thousands of us were taken for a ride by the so-called king of good times, who gave us the real bad time of our lives, especially our career lives. I think he's still having good times because, we are people from aviation and, we are always working inside the airport. And I still see this man still going and, having the same lifestyle as he had earlier, because nobody's in the country to question him. He can spend 10 to 12 lakhs on just a Goa trip with his friends, but he cannot pay people their dues for legitimately working for him.
Reports started surfacing that much of the money borrowed for Kingfisher Airlines had been funneled into personal accounts and shell companies. The reports revealed that Mallya had used loans meant for Kingfisher Airlines to finance his personal lifestyle. A secret $40 million transfer to a trust controlled by his children shocked investigators. Even worse, employees alleged that Mallya ignored their pleas for months while he continued to splurge on luxury cars and watches. What started as a business failure was now a full-blown scandal. Vijay Mallya wasn't just accused of poor management. He was accused of deliberately defrauding 17 banks out of over $1.3 billion. The year 2016 marked a turning point. With lawsuits piling up and pressure mounting, Vijay Mallya boarded a flight to London and never came back.
Mr. Mallya, why did you escape here, sir? Why the need to escape? I spoke to senior advocates in India and they said they didn't. You approached them to take on your case and they didn't take it on.
Returning to England, where I've lived since 1992, is not an escape.
What many don't know is that his departure wasn't entirely unexpected. Mallya had reportedly been liquidating assets and transferring funds overseas for months. He left behind creditors, employees, and an enraged nation. In India, he was declared a willful defaulter, a term reserved for those who deliberately avoid repaying loans. The day he left India, it was like a slap in the face to everyone who had trusted him. Employees, banks, taxpayers, he left them all to pick up the pieces. While India launched legal battles to extradite him, Mallya continued to live a life of luxury in the UK. Photos of him attending horse races and lavish events sparked outrage back home. Back in India, his possessions were being auctioned off to repay his debts. From his private jet to a fleet of luxury cars, everything was sold.
Vijay Mallya case, 14,131.6 crore, complete amount of the attached property has been restored to the public sector banks.
What most people don't know is that one of the auctioned items was Mallya's personal piano, which was sold for a fraction of its value. In 2020, after years of legal wrangling, a UK court approved India's request for Mallya's extradition. However, he continued to appeal the decision, dragging out the process further. By this point, the damage he had caused was irreversible. Kingfisher Airlines was long dead, and the banks were left scrambling to recover even a fraction of the lost money. Was Vijay Mallya a visionary undone by circumstances or a con man who fooled the world? For many, the answer is clear. Mallya's rise and fall is a cautionary tale of unchecked ambition, hubris, and the dangers of living beyond one's means. His story serves as a stark reminder that no empire, no matter how grand, is immune to collapse. The king of good times may still live in luxury, but he will forever be remembered as the man who lost it all: trust, legacy, and the respect of a nation.